as I mentioned to you earlier. We have learned a lot about different knowledge, different aspects of small business, and we felt the need to have you learn from the entrepreneurs themselves, and especially because you are hotel management students, then as hotel management students, you have the benefit of entrepreneurship opportunities and entrepreneurship ideas that not only revolve around food and beverage, which is what your culinary arts counterparts get to work with, but you also have the opportunity to come up with business ideas around other areas within the hotel. And as you have learned since your term one, is that a hotel consists of different departments. Other than the food and beverage section, you also have the front office section, you have the accommodation combined with housekeeping section, and then there's also the recreational, relaxing section. And as a result of that, it gives us great pleasure and great honor to have with us a speaker who has started a business in the accommodation services section. Now, we have had in the industry, in the hospitality industry, as you are all aware, this is an industry that keeps changing over time, and it keeps changing because of the demands of the customers. And there's already the traditional accommodation that comes from hotel rooms, that comes from small bed and breakfast rooms. But then, as in our digital space today, we had introduced and we got to see the new accommodation service to guests presented in what is known as Airbnb. And so our speaker today is one who has delved and taken a risk into this space. And I will go right into introducing her, and she will take us through her experience into Airbnb, and you will be able to get to learn more from her. And we look forward to this session. Purity, welcome to Boma College.
Thank you. Thank you.
We look forward to learning from you. Our students are in attendance, and we look forward to having you and listening with what you have to share. Allow me to introduce Purity and give you a bit about her bio. So Purity is, alongside her husband, an owner and manager of Tukuzi, which is one of the furnished houses listed on Airbnb. She has also gone a step further to list it on booking.com, gigi.co.ke, and Facebook. Purity has also trained as an executive coach and coaches in the area of career and life. Her business has been listed and in operation on Airbnb since the last quarter of 2019. She is a CPA and BCom accounting graduate and practitioner, and has over 15 years working experience in finance, risk management, and ethics, and with a global multinational. She holds a postgraduate certificate in business administration from the University of Leicester, which is in the UK. She's also an author, and she's married to Benson Masharia, and together they have 2 children. She enjoys coaching and mentoring younger people on career, relationships, finance. Purity, welcome. Welcome to our class.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mercy, for that kind introduction. Yes, I want to go right into my presentation. And I know we were trying to sort out the technical aspect. So allow me to share my screen. So like you've heard, my husband and I own and run Tukuzi1, which is an Airbnb. My screen, I'm not sure what happened. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Let me try and reshare.
And share.
Yeah, let me try again. Okay, let me see whether it will. I'm not sure I can actually see it from my end.
Okay.
But
try and start it from the beginning.
Can you see it? Are you able to see my slides?
Not yet. Go exit from the main screen.
Yeah.
Yes,
can you
just
see
present
that?
it from there. Yes, that we can see.
Oh, that you can see.
Yeah, present it from there.
But it looks like if I put it on slideshow, you're not able to see.
Yeah. So we can see from here.
All right. Yeah. So we have the picture right you're seeing there is our facility, which is called Tukuzi1. And today I'm going to be speaking to you about opportunities that are there in the accommodation services and how that works, especially from an online perspective. Before, let me see, they said, yeah, there you go.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so let me start off with a little quiz. What happens when you wear your watch on an aeroplane? You can put your answer on the
charts.
on the chat.
On the charts.
Yeah. Let me see whether I'll be able to see the chat. What happens? Let's see. And I can't see your. Anybody with let me see. Any comment from anyone?
Could you repeat the question for them?
Yes. So what happens when you wear your watch on an aeroplane? I know it's a morning and it's rather early. What's your guess? I just want to check that people are hearing me correctly and are able to respond.
So your question to the students is what happens? So the students, the question is to you, what happens when you wear your watch on an aeroplane?
Correct. Thank you.
Oh, nice. I see the question.
Oh, yes, I see that. Somebody, I can see people are awake, which is great. Yes, of course, time flies. I'm not sure if some people didn't see my nice little answer when we were trying to sort out the technology. But like you had, yeah, so that of course was a light moment. So we set up Tukuzi1 last year, which is the name of our facility, our accommodation facility, and we've been running it since that time. My introduction, I think Miss Mercy put it quite well, so I'll not go through it again. So most of the pictures here are from that facility. So let me talk to you about Airbnb and then I'll talk to you about other options really. So Airbnb, if you haven't interacted with Airbnb, it's actually a vacation rental tool really, which really works towards helping homestays or tourism experiences around the world. It was set up in California just in 2008, just 12 years ago, but now is a global company. It does not own, the company Airbnb does not own any property itself. It doesn't own any real estate. It does not even own the experiences that are people usually offer. What it does is that it's a broker, like any other broker. It links those who want accommodation services and or experiences with those who are offering them. So it's a very simple business model. There are over 7 million listings in over 100,000 cities around the world, and is a major competitor in the travel industry. So previously, what would happen before the likes of Airbnb, if you wanted accommodation, you needed maybe to talk to an agency when you're traveling to a new city, and then they would probably refer you to that agent, to a particular hotel. Hotels really had a completely set up network around agencies, travel agencies, and so on, to connect them to potential clients. Now, Airbnb is one of the disruptors of that arrangement, because then they could now directly talk to those who are looking for accommodation and those who have it. In fact, how this started, it was started by some gentlemen in California. And what they did, they had an inflated mattress and they were looking to subsidize on their rent. So they thought to rent it out to anyone who would be interested. And they found that that would be quite a business model. So this was quite a disruptive thing in the travel industry. As of last year, October, we had about 2 million people staying with Airbnb each night. And you can imagine, those are huge numbers of people. Of course, with COVID-19, these numbers have been quite affected, even though we are starting to see some changes. Now, so how exactly does Airbnb work? In particular, I'm focusing on Airbnb. I'm going to talk about others. Of course, you need a place to list or an experience. There is a friend of mine who listed an experience of, I think she was taking people around entertainment joints within, Nairobi. So that was her experience. So you can list an experience, you can list a property, but you need to have a property, whether it's, your bedroom or something, you need a property. You will need some gadget that accesses the internet. So the future is really in the internet. It may not look what we see today, but it is the internet. So you will need a smartphone or a tablet or a computer, some gadget. So you go to airbnb.com and ask, it's pretty easy. If you've been, and I'm sure most of you have been online, it's not very different from how you join Facebook or how you join Instagram or any of these other platforms. But so you need you could also download the app on your phone, and most people actually manage their Airbnb from their phones. So using an apps is the way life is these days. You'll need to furnish your apartment or your space. So depending on whatever clientele you're targeting, because different clientele will require different standards. So you need to sort of achieve some level of standard in the way you're furnishing, where you're going to rent out. You need to get nice, lovely pictures. This is the era of image. So pictures mean everything. In fact, Airbnb for the longest time, and most of these other apps will tell you your picture is not up to standard, meaning that it's not professional or it's not good quality. Mercifully, most phones these days can take very good pictures. So again, you need very good pictures. And then you need to decide what other additional services are you giving, so that you're able to know what you're offering. So on Airbnb, you can say you offer meals or you don't, or most of these are platforms. You can also say whether you give laundry, do you charge for it? Do you offer shuttle services to and from whatever? wherever your guests may want, and how much are they. So you need to decide that when you are setting up these platforms. You obviously need to be able to price whatever it is that you're offering. So for instance, if you are just offering accommodation, pure and simple, you have a bed, maybe a TV, and not too much. You need to price how much will that cost you. And some of the things you need to consider when you're pricing is, number one, how much are you the owner of the property, or are you renting it out so that you're able to then create this Airbnb space? Or are you getting somebody to clean for you, or are you cleaning yourself? If you're buying food, are you the one preparing it or not? So all those things, you need to be able to arrange all your costs together and then say, this is how much I'm going to charge. Now, that's not the only thing that informs how much you're going to charge. The other thing you need to consider is your competitors. Now, with Airbnb or with any of these platforms, you're able to see who else is offering similar services to yourself in the places you are in. Now, I'll mention here that the nature of Airbnb and most of these other platforms is that people compare. If I want accommodation in Ngong, I'll see several listings in Ngong, and I'll be able to tell which one meets my budget. So budget is one of the things. So you need to consider your pricing. Pricing is an important aspect of this, in a way that, of course, you will not make losses, but also in a way that it is competitive. You obviously need to develop a name for whatever your apartment. Like I said, ours is Tukuzi 1. That's the name of the apartment. The intention was actually to have Tukuzi 2, 3, and so many others, and we will get to that. You need to know that as you're developing your pricing, again, Airbnb charges a commission of 3%. Others will charge different other commissions, and for hosting. So every time you get paid by Airbnb, they'll have deducted their 3%. Or if it's an experience, they will take 20% as well. You need to be aware there are taxes. I'm a CPA, so I have to tell you that there are taxes which you should be aware of and which you should factor into the way you're doing your pricing. So it's not different from any other business. You need to be very aware of what is you're putting in so that you can know what you're getting out and whether or not you're making money. Yeah. Usually, like I've said, we are in an online space. This is online. So most things, even payments, are online. So when you go to these platforms, Airbnb included, you will find options that, online payment options. Do you want to be paid via PayPal? And there is a link between PayPal and M-Pesa. Do you want to be paid by direct deposit? So you will indicate how you want to be paid. If you're joining, what tends to happen, because I'm registered as well, not just as a host, but also as a person who can book, you will need to say how you're going to pay, like by credit card usually, because what Airbnb does, they deduct the payment when the day arrives for you to be entering the apartment. So that's how it works. You need to process guest bookings. And that's why you need a smartphone. I would recommend a smartphone because you're able to carry it around wherever you are. You're able to see who is booking. You're able to check on their ratings. You're able to see whether you will accept them as a guest. And then you're able to make calls and make arrangements for them. Now remember, when a guest comes, let's say they arrive at JKIA at the airport, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. It's a strange, in all likelihood, strange country that they have come to. So it's best that you make arrangements for them to have a smooth transfer to your apartment as much as possible. Before I set up Airbnb, I did quite a bit of research. And one of the challenges is that some guests get lost and then they end up giving you a very terrible review for that. I'm seeing there are some comments. Let me just check whether these are. Okay, okay, I just,
you can proceed.
That's a comment for me. All right,
Yeah.
I thought that was a question. All right, that's great.
The questions will come after your presentation.
Okay, great, I'll do that. Remember, so again, this is online. So think like the way you would think of Uber or one of these platforms. So guests and hosts rate each other. So if you didn't like the guest, you can rate them, and if they didn't like you, they'll rate you. So it's the way most of these platforms work is through a rating system, and it's a widely used system for many things that require transfer of goods and services. Rating is everything in this, but in particular, if your guests give you a bad rating, people rely on those ratings quite a bit, I must say. Okay, so right, I don't know, my screen now has frozen again. All right. So like I said, Airbnb is one of them, and it's one of the older ones. There are others that were existing before, but Airbnb is probably one of the more marketed ones. So if you're starting out in this accommodation space, it's probably where you want to start. You want to start in Airbnb. It's not very specialized in terms of, it's not targeting some specific clients. You just need to have a lot of clients, good reviews, and then you get to a super host status, which means then more guests get directed to you. So it's a tech company. It's an algorithm-driven company. So the more activity, the more the more you're likely to get more referrals. If you understand what I'm saying. But there are many more. So assuming you have your bedroom, an extra bedroom in your house, and you want to put it up on Airbnb, so you maybe get some nice clean bed sheets, a nice duvet, maybe a towel, and then so on. So you set it up and you put it up on Airbnb. So when you start, you may get clients or not get clients, but don't sort of focus just on Airbnb. I'm saying you can put it on so many other platforms. You could put it on Expedia. Expedia is also another platform this gives you options. You experience different platforms, just like you have Uber, you have Little Cab, and all these other companies. You widen your net. That's my point. Varbo is another one. Booking.com. So be on as many. I would say be on as many platforms as you want. But also, that doesn't mean you cannot target clients directly, especially depending on location. So Airbnb and most of these other international platforms tend to work for locations that are near major cities. For instance, if you're in, you guys are at you're students of Boma. So if you're in South C, you're in South B, you're in on Gong Road, places where there's a lot of traffic for people who are coming in to have meetings with government, have meetings with private companies. They're probably likely to stay around those areas because of their proximity to the city center. Now, if you have an apartment in say, Ngong area, or further out from JKIA, from the city center, you may want to broaden your options. That's my point here. So you may want to target people who would be needing your services in the area, online and offline. So online, you can use your Facebook, so you can get a business account on Facebook. You can use Instagram, you can set up an Instagram account. You certainly need to put your facility on Google Maps. So again, Google Maps, people use it a lot, especially if they want to get to your place. They need to, it's good to be on Google Maps. You can also advertise in places like gg.co.ke. Gg is also a platform that connects buyers and sellers. Again, it's a good platform to be on, because if somebody is looking for short stays, mainly local clients, they'll look there. You could also walk to where you think your clients might come from. We are in Umoja, Tukuziwan. So what a lot of our clients are those who come for meetings. There are major churches in Umoja. There's big churches in that area. So we targeted them directly, and we've gotten clients from them directly. Interesting clients from them as well. So don't just put your item on Airbnb and sit, or on booking.com and sit. It's a business, so you have to keep thinking, how else can I get clients, right? If I'm not getting a lot of success with my, let me see.
If you find that it is perhaps freezing, then you can just exit and go through the slides as they are.
So
yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So let me talk about what opportunities you can consider in this area of Airbnb and accommodation, offerings, depending on whatever platforms you go for. You can rent out a disused space. If for instance, you live at home and there's an idle bedroom, maybe one of your siblings has moved on to college or whatever, you can consider how you can convert that space and make offerings. Remember, you're offering an accommodation service. So it just needs to be a neat bed, looking nice and neat. And then list it on Airbnb, list it on booking.com, on Vrbo, on all these places, Expedia. Put it out on Facebook. And you never know, especially if you're in a good location. Like I've said, the areas surrounding the city center, Ngong Road, Mombasa Road, wherever, you will tend to get clients. Look at your pricing and price it and put it on. You will never know until you try. You can also list an experience. So Airbnb, which does experiences, I'm not familiar that any other platform does experiences. They will, they have groupings, they have groupings of experiences. Are they cultural or art or tourist or whatever? So you can list an experience. So maybe you're affiliated to, I don't know, musicians. So you know when gigs are happening around the city. You can list an experience, or an experience of how to do, I don't know, play a musical instrument or whatever, or an experience of taking you to the Nairobi National Park. Of course, if you're a foreigner and you come to Kenya and you want to experience Nairobi National Park, it would help if you are together with, a local. So it's about broadening our thinking and considering business opportunities that we can start almost effortlessly, if you think about it. The other option is that you can, if you don't have a property, you don't have an extra bedroom or something, you can consider renting a property, which you then furnish and put up. Now, a lot of people have done this, especially pre-COVID. A lot of people had done that. I'm aware of several apartments that are near the city or near the airport, where people rented out spaces and converted them to Airbnb listings, and they were managing them themselves. Okay. You could also manage other people's listings. So I have really a relative. She had given out her property because she's very busy working. She had given out her property to somebody, and they had agreed on a particular rent that the person needed to sort of furnish every month whenever they have clients. So again, you can contact several owners of Airbnb properties. You don't need to have a property yourself, but you're already skilled. You're a skilled person in hotel management. So you are able to go online, source for clients, and do all that. The owner does all the furnishing and all that. You manage. It's like managing the business, but now you have several clients. So for instance, like in my relative's case, they were requiring the person to give them 100,000 per month. But if they in a particular month they ended up with 200, 300,000, it's, you know, that was none of their business. So there's opportunity there as well to manage other people's properties, and you can look around them, go on Airbnb, look at properties that are listed near where you are, and offer to manage them for a commission. You can do them for a commission or for a fixed amount of rent to the owner. You can also offer auxiliary services that go with having these spaces. So for Tukuzi One, we have a caretaker on site, but most of these Airbnb listings, they exist on flats and so on. So you can't have sort of a spare room to have the caretaker. So what people tend to do, you need to have somebody who comes in to do the cleaning. And now with COVID, we have fumigation as well. You need laundry. There are some clients, especially if they're staying for long, they may need their laundry done, or you need, of course, your laundry done once a guest moves out. There could be transport, depending on what the client has come to do around. They may want to be driven around and so on. You can consider offering meals to clients, especially if you live in areas where these Airbnbs are many. You can offer meals. You can contact the owners and say, well, I can offer your clients breakfast or something. Photography. So my own experience when I went to list was photography was an issue. I actually had to get a professional photographer to do it, to get the right angle, the right picture. Pictures are everything these days. So I mean, there are very many options. I'm just trying to say, in this one area of accommodation, there are many other services that you can consider offering for the same. So it's not just the accommodation. You could also offer some people, especially the older people, may have challenges with technology. They have a facility, they have a property, they do not know what to do with it. You can approach them and tell them, mom or dad or buka or whatever it is. You'll tell them, I can help you, especially if they are a relative. You can ask them, can I list for you, and offer them the business idea, for which then you get a cut, or you ask them to give you the room or whatever. So you can do listing services, marketing services. All those are opportunities you can consider in this business. Generally speaking, if the property is well occupied, I'm talking pre-COVID, it gives better returns than renting out. So again, if you're approaching a relative or a family member to give you a space, maybe they have a disused servants' quarter, you can tell them, maybe the target rent for the area is maybe 15,000. You can tell them, I will give you 20 if you furnish this place, and we can get into some arrangement where I manage the place. So the returns can be quite useful. So of course, where there are opportunities, there will be challenges. So it's good to just be aware. Business is I like to say business is not for the faint-hearted. You need to be brave. You need to keep thinking. You need to keep engaging in an area of business. So some of the challenges is lack of guests, and for most hotels, hotels will target maybe a what 40% occupancy or something. Now, if you have one Airbnb, your target occupancy is always 100%. So you don't have the option of having 40% occupancy, because the space is very competitive. Every day people are listing. So the pricing keeps coming down and coming down. So again, lack of guests is a real challenge, especially if you're outside the circuits that are commonly targeted by guests. All right. No payment from guests. I was talking to a guy who also runs this business recently, and he told me how he had some guests from Uganda, which is not to say there's not anything wrong with Uganda, but just to say that the people were not locals. They were not locals. They were at the Kenyan coast. The guy runs his Airbnb at the coast. And he then entered into this arrangement with lovely ladies to add their stay outside the platform, outside the Airbnb platform. So what happened? I mean, the ladies, I think, had run out of cash and they were not, speaking out. They just packed one day and left.
Wow.
So he lost money in that arrangement. So again, you need to weigh, do you want to do things outside the platform or not? It's like, again, I said, it's a bit like Uber. You can call an Uber, they come, they take you to town. Then after town, you tell them, no, now take me to Rongai. And then you say, do you want to do it outside the platform or on the platform? I think it's always better for the host to do it on the platform. Saves you a lot of heartache. Damages, theft. I mean, not all guests are equal. Some are a bit rough, and you may find that there are damages or thefts, or property misuse as well. I mean, people have not used the property properly. You left them to use the towels, they wiped the floor with it. Guests are not equal. You can also have very demanding clients who just are very demanding and end up giving you bad reviews. So again, that can be a challenge. Language barriers. Is it last year or this year? We had a guest from Gambia. I think it was from Gambia, somewhere in West Africa, a very senior government official, actually, who had come to attend a conference near where we offer the services. And she could not speak English. It was amazing. So communicating with her, my caretaker, it was quite difficult because we were both not French speaking. But mercifully, the people who were hosting had a French speaking person. So we kind of got around it. Language barrier can be quite something, but you need to know.
And I can imagine that even to just interject, Purity, I can imagine that also creates an opportunity for translators, foreign language translators.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's true, especially where you have high interaction with guests. Most guests want to be left alone, and some you may not see, especially if you're not the one doing the cleaning in the house and everything. But where a guest is, especially if you're going to do an experience or any of that, then language is of importance. Late cancellations and no-shows. I think this is common even in the hotel industry. We've had such experiences. Pandemics, we don't know whether this is the last one or, political upheavals. Every time there is chaos, sometimes even in very, very far places, away from where you are, they may lead to cancellations or low bookings and so on. For people like myself who have a caretaker, I'm not there on the ground, you may not find a good professional. If you get a good professional, they cost, and you're not probably able to recover that money from what you're charging. So that's a challenge in that space. And it's probably one of the areas professionals like yourselves can actually help to bridge that gap. Trustworthiness and so on, because you're leaving an entire property well furnished with a stranger. They may or may not be ethical. You have challenges of unethical competitors. Now I have some, let me call them colleagues, because they have an Airbnb in some built up estate where there are quite a few of them together. When they find your guests stranded, some neighbors, some of your competitors, when they find your guests stranded at the main gate, they don't offer to call you. Maybe let's say like the guest comes to the gate and says, I'm going to Tukuziwan. My competitor, instead of saying, let me show you where Tukuziwan is, they'll say, oh, sorry, Tukuziwan is very bad. In fact, they had very bad reviews. Let me show you another apartment, which is very good. So that is happening even sometimes at the airport. People waiting for guests to snatch them and then, telling them all manner of horror stories about your space. They are, and I'm just saying, there are unethical people out there. Like I said, low pricing. This is a challenge. Some people are even offering as low as $10 a night, which can barely meet if you have a caretaker, you're a cleaner, you have to change sheets, you have to do all these things. Yeah. Then
$10.
location
$10.
is a challenge.
If
Sorry?
I can do the math, $10 roughly, if you're exchanging the dollar at 100 Kenya shillings, that's about 1,000 Kenya shillings a night.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 1,000. If you get guests only say 20 days in a month, that would be almost equivalent to the rent in probably most areas, which is not quite useful for all the trouble of setting up an Airbnb. But having said that, I mean, challenges are to be dealt with, not to be, you don't freak out, don't assume the worst. I'm just telling you, if you're setting up, be aware this can be challenges, but don't say, I will not set up because of these challenges. Set up and do your best to make sure that you beat the challenges that are there. Now, obviously, we're in a COVID-19 season, and I just wanted to make some comments on what's happening and what I think the future will look like. So at the moment, all platforms require that you commit to some protocols of health protocols as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And they'll keep sending messages reminding us, please accept this, that you're gonna adhere to these protocols. Basically setting up sanitizers, periods between hosting or sanitizing and so on. So they give details as to what Airbnb has given quite some bit of detail as to how you need to take care of common spaces, remotes, TV remotes, doors, doorknobs, wipe spaces. It's quite detailed in this season, which means costs go up of actually hosting, which is also a challenge because it's a time when there are not so many guests. Many people are afraid to travel or can't travel, and there are real challenges of infection. So it's a where do you price? Do you price low to get the guest, or and incur the costs? So those are some of the challenges that are coming through with COVID-19. If you're in Kenya, obviously you need to comply with the MOH protocols, which is you need to have enhanced cleaning. You need to keep, of course, records of who has come to your apartment, because if the person turns out to have an infection, you need to have an idea who may have been exposed and all those kind of things. Wearing of masks is actually a law in Kenya. So you need to do that. If you have a caretaker, they need to be masked. There needs to be sanitizers. There needs to be all this cleaning. What has happened is that obviously with the lockdowns and travel and shutdown of airports, massive cancellations. That's what was the immediate impact of that. I mean, it was quite serious for this particular space, for us, for many others. People who had bookings, they were just stripped bare. All of them were cancelled, and there was just a lot of that. There is still a lot of fear of the disease, and not so much travel as you would expect. In fact, there's still not most conferencing is still a challenge. Conferencing, even for Airbnb, even if you have a big facility, they limit the number to 16. So the conferencing, anyone who does, their business relies on conferencing, conferences are not being held. And we don't know whether they will ever come back in truth, because now with all these facilities, Zoom, and so on, we don't know how much of that will, or how even the industry will look going forward. There will still be tourism for sure, because people obviously want to see new places. But some of the business from conferencing, I'm imagining that will continue being a challenge. Many of the big companies still working from home, not allowing travel, and so on. So all those are challenges as we speak. Most people who had rented properties, I'm aware of 2 places where properties had been rented. And I mean, immediately they went into rent distress and just exited the business completely, because the facility was not theirs. And you can't keep paying rent for no business. We're seeing news of a vaccines, actually several vaccines are being touted as possible candidates towards this. We are hopeful. We are hopeful. We don't know whether it's going to boost travel. Immediately, I doubt. I read some article that was saying even with the vaccine, there's still a lot of resistance to vaccine. I think most of you must have seen some of the conspiracy theories. So there's the vaccine, but is there the acceptance to take the vaccine? Those are some of the things that are there. And then we have to consider what happens to the industry post-COVID, because it has changed the way we work. I mean, take a meeting like this one. In the past, just January, I would probably have come to your college and given a face-to-face talk, right?
Correct.
This is highly unlikely to ever happen again. That's my thinking. I may be wrong. But conferencing, online platforms will continue to grow. And it's cheaper for everyone. So again, what does that mean for the industry? So those are some of the things we need to think about going forward. I don't have the answers. We will see how things sort of unfold going forward.
Yeah.
So for you as students, what should you be doing? I mean, you are going to graduate at some point. We want you to think in terms of business, in terms of entrepreneurship, and how that can go. So like I've been talking about, consider opportunities in Airbnb, especially if they do not require capital. So don't always think I need capital to start a business. There are many, like I've told you, you can talk to your parents to give you a room, a disused room. You can talk to your relatives who probably have big houses in Runda or someplace where they are not using it because all the children have left, and so on. So don't focus on I need money to start. You can start without money. Experiences, that is about your whatever your talents or interests are. So you can list an experience tomorrow if you want. So again, to earn money, don't think purely about having money in the first place. Then the other aspect is offer your services. So you're already trained to be hotel management people. So what are your gifts? So the way the world is moving, and has been for a while, is towards a gig economy. Now, most of us are familiar with the term gig because that's what musicians do and artists. You have a gig in town or someplace. But everybody is actually moving into a gig sort of arrangement. So where you offer your services to the person who needs them. And there are many, there are very many platforms online, Kenyan platforms and others, global platforms like Upwork or like Fiverr, where you go in there, list your service, get hired, very much like Airbnb, but now you're offering a service, and then you get paid and you get rated and you rate. So rating, like I said, rating system is one of the things that they are heavily relying on right now. I don't know whether it will remain like that, but as long as you have something to offer, there are platforms to connect you to those who need them, who need those services. If I saw in another apartment just recently, somebody was offering laundry services, and they had these big washing machines, which is not very common in Kenya, to give, washing services are usually given to Mama Safi. But this was a person who had set up in a big apartment. They had set up washing machines to wash clothes for people at a fee. Now, those are just ideas. So my point here is there's no need to just wait to purely get a job. A job is good, but there are many, many opportunities, and in all likelihood, opportunities will continue moving online. More and more online is where we are going to offer our services. Definitely grow your skills, grow your passions. Now, you are a hotelier, you're a person who has training in hoteling. I can say you have a skill, but you can get really, really good at it. Teach people even. People have YouTube channels where all they do is teach people about their own skill. And with YouTube, which is a Google company, is linked to Google. They are owned by Alphabet. So on YouTube, you can get, as long as you have many subscribers, you have many views, you get adverts running on your YouTube channel, and you get to earn money from it. So some people actually treat it as a full-time engagement, a full-time business. Again, it's online. So your smartphone, your smartphone is actually a business shop that is waiting to be activated. So there are many out. TikTok is now gaining credence. I've not interacted with it much, but I have a young nephew who told me, a cousin rather, who told me that if you do a lot of the videos, you can start getting paid. AdSense pays you on YouTube. They pay you if you have enough subscribers, you have enough. If most people don't even know how to do some of the things you guys take for granted in the hoteling industry. How exactly do you welcome a guest? How do you make sure they are comfortable? How do you, all those things which you guys learn, but majority of people don't. YouTube channel is an option. TikTok is an option. So there are many ways. I'm just saying, hone your skills, hone your passions, and put them out there as a business. And get money. So these are not the days of one business. If you looked at my profile, I do so many things in one go. And given that I've been around for a while, I mean, how much more you guys? You can do so much with what is currently happening, which is that it's a very global village. It's very much online, and there's so many opportunities. Volunteer. So sometimes the way to grow your skills is actually to volunteer. So volunteer to run somebody's Airbnb, volunteer to run, if say, for instance, you belong to an organization that owns accommodation. I know like some churches have accommodation facilities, and they could maybe not be very well skilled because they're not using professionals. Remember, I said getting professionals is difficult, is not cheap. Volunteer there and grow and hone your skills while you are at it. I'll reiterate, seek friendly capital when you're setting up business. Capital is the money you need to start a business. So don't go into borrowing. Especially, I think what COVID-19 has taught us is debt can be very, very punitive in times of crisis. So I would highly discourage, unless you are well guaranteed on that debt, I would really discourage, especially early on, taking on debt to start something. Try to think of opportunities you can start without debt, like I've already shared, and then see how far you go with it as you start off your business. Really, when you think about it, the guys of Airbnb, all they had was a mind. They had a challenge. They wanted to increase their rent. To support their rent payment, because where they were staying, the rents are quite high. And they had an inflatable mattress, which then they said to themselves, why can't we, sacrifice our privacy and offer this bed to somebody who may be needing, a space to sleep? And there, a global company started. So consider opportunities are there, they are in the mind, they just need to be brought out. So I'm gonna end my talk there. Let me have your questions. I don't know whether I've covered most of the topics that Miss Mercy had alerted me. Yeah, let me have your questions.
You have, Purity, indeed. What a comprehensive presentation, because you've been able to cover both the challenges and the opportunities. I was looking through the opportunities and amazed, even just to reiterate what you've said, amazed to find that you don't even have to list a property in full. You can choose to only list an idle room or a room that is not disused. And I'm sure this will even provoke thinking among our students who are listening in to now look around the rooms in the houses and now look at perhaps if there's a disused room or a servant's quarter that is not being used, and have that conversation with their parents or with their guardians or with their relatives. So thank you so much for that presentation. Indeed, as you have also rightfully said, your smartphone is now a business awaiting to be activated. More businesses are going online. And thank you for just provoking those thoughts to our students who are learning the unit on small business management. And their foundation topic at the beginning of the class, you'll be glad to know, was how an entrepreneur works in terms of the entrepreneurship mindset. And Purity, I would also like to just let you know, by the way, that within the college and specifically within this program, the Diploma in Hotel Management, the students then, as they will be moving on to their next term, they'll be learning about social media. So I'm glad you touched on some of the social media apps that they'll be learning about, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, among others, where they can also then now learn the tips that you're talking about, even to give them an extra skill on the various opportunities that you have mentioned. So thank you once again, Ms. Purity, for that very comprehensive presentation. I'll go straight into the questions section, and I would like this to come from the students. The students have had a chance to listen in on the question, on the presentation, and we can proceed by them asking the questions. So let's go direct to asking the questions.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, Gladwell. Proceed with your question.
Okay, my first question is, how did you find the source of your capital? And after finding your capital, how did you use it in starting your business?
Okay.
Would you like, Ms. Purity, would you like her to share all the questions and then now you go ahead to answer, or would you like to answer them one by one? I think it would be preferable. What would be preferable for you?
Maybe ask the questions so that I can sort of handle them in case they are related.
Okay. So that was the first question. Gladwell, proceed with your next questions, with all your questions.
Okay, my second question is, which challenges did you face using Airbnb websites to list your accommodation properties? Then the third one and the last one is, which challenges did you face before your business was known? under Airbnb, like getting your customers, and even after like your business was known, and even during the pandemic, which challenges are you facing in to getting your customers? That's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Gladwell. So, Ms. Purity, you can proceed with those questions. Then we'll have the next student asking the next set of questions.
Okay. So the first one, source of capital. So my source of capital was from employment income. Like I said earlier, I'm actually not a hotelier by training. I'm an accountant by training. So I was employed for a long time. So I used some of the money from what I was getting to set up the business. So not just myself, but my husband and I put together our money, and we used that to set up the business. So we did not borrow. We used savings. Let me say, we used savings. Challenges with setting up on Airbnb. Setting up on Airbnb is rather straightforward. It's not, I mean, they'll require, one of the challenges, of course, they require very good quality pictures. The other challenge is, of course, just making sure that on the ground, what you give is what you put up. So we have had challenges, not an Airbnb client, but a separate client, a client coming and or is booked in, and then the caretaker is not available. That was quite distressing because I'm not very near where the Airbnb is located. Challenges. So we haven't been on the business for very long. In fact, we launched and shortly there was COVID just this year. Our last clients, I think, were in February, if I'm not wrong. So challenges are still very, very, very persistent because when COVID hit, it hit hard. It hit us hard because all our potential client areas just disappeared. Now like I said, we are not on the common circuit of clients. So we are near the airport, but we are not in one of the sort of middle class areas or higher middle class areas. So we face challenges. It's not just ourselves, actually, because I've talked to others. Massive cancellations, massive lack of bookings because of the pandemic. We had not reached a status of being known so that we could now sort of be independent drawing clients. I mean, we just started towards the end of last year. We have not given up. We are seeing signs of recovery from people. I mean, other people are starting to get trickling in clients, especially guys at the coast, and some areas, maybe Ngong Road and the like. So we are hoping as clients start to trickle in, we will get clients. Some of the things we have done is try and lower our prices within reason. Again, it has to make sense to host. We have tried to see whether we can, get local clients. But like I said, because people are not gathering, most of these opportunities come because people are coming to, a visitor, whether you're from Eldoret or from California, you are coming in because you're coming to do something short term and then going back to your home. Now, people are not gathering naturally. So that's creating some of the challenge. One of the things I did just recently was on the Airbnb platform, there's an option to offer services to first responders. They call them first responders. Really, these are people who are medics, who are, or researchers, I guess, who are coming into countries to help respond to the crisis. You offer a lower price, but also Airbnb does not charge you the commission. So they don't do that. They don't do that. I think for 100,000. If you host a guest for 100,000 nights, I think a huge number, they don't take a commission. So that is one of the things you try and do. I mean, like I said, it's a business. Every day you wake up and think, what else can I do? What else can I do to help this? So we are trying. We're looking at what the apps are offering, but also we look at. We call clients in the area. Like I said, we work with some big churches in the area. We call them and ask them. They say, "Oh my, we're having challenges," and you keep trying. So those are some of the challenges. We are hoping that sooner or later, and especially as we go into Christmas, that things will turn around. But I must say, I mean, for me, it's different more than maybe for others. So a lot of the people who had rented facilities, I have seen in at least 3 situations, in actually 2 apartment blocks, one in Gara, another one in Embakasi. A lot of people just exited. Yeah.
And these people who had exited were mostly those who were managing property of the other owners. It was not their own property.
No, they had rented.
They had rented.
You remember I had said that's also an option. You go rent an apartment for, like in Embakasi, there are those particular apartments, very good apartments. They were going for about, I think, 15,000 shillings. So if you get a client regularly, even if you're charging them $30 or $20, you will be able to pay the rent and take care of the other things and do laundry and all that. But in this particular case, it was impossible because they just what actually happened with the lockdowns was just guys went in and just cancelled around the world, which was actually Airbnb came back and for those guys who experienced cancellation, gave them some payment to take care of that. They paid out about $250 million out of it. It was actually it was quite a bloodbath for the sector, but we are recovering. We're recovering.
Yeah, we always say that within the hospitality industry, we are really almost more or less the hardest hit, or one of the hardest hit with the COVID pandemic. So definitely for business owners and for entrepreneurs, they've really just had to not give up. As you have said, business is not for the faint-hearted, and just try and reduce on their debt, manage their debt, and be creative. So I like what you have said, and you have reiterated your point earlier that it is not just about listing and sitting back. You still need to network as the business owner listed on the Airbnb platform.com platform, or even any other service that you are providing. You still need to be active on the ground and network with the community as well, especially nearby where the property is located. I think those are well answered questions. On the question on source of capital, again, for the students, you have had that, because that is a topic that you have learned in this particular unit on types and sources of capital. And our speaker, Ms. Purity, has emphasized that maintain your source of capital to the point that you're not borrowing big loans that will require you to pay debts with high interest. Simply either start saving now if you can, or at best maybe source for capital within family members. Let's move on to our next student who will be asking the next set of questions. Leah, I see you. Proceed.
Good morning, Miss Purity.
Good morning.
I have a question. I have questions. What is the size of your property to Kuziwan? Are they two? Is it 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, or like a set of rooms? Then what is your biggest target market? Are they the locals, the international, or both? Then to you, Miss Purity, I have a question. What really drove you to join the Airbnb business opportunity? For example, maybe did you see an opportunity, or you're providing a solution to a problem? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Size of Tukuziwan. So Tukuziwan is a 2-bedroom bungalow with a lush compound. I like to say it has a lush compound because I really enjoy staying there when I go there. It's located in an area where good accommodation is not generally available to people who are in the area. So in my research, I found, number one, the competition is lower in the area for that kind of accommodation because we give high class accommodation. And then there are companies located in the area. So we target mainly, so our primary target was actually the churches. There are some big churches in the area. They tend to hold big conferences, which overwhelms the accommodation requirements there. In fact, we found that some of them used to host their guests all the way to Eka Hotel, which is right here next to us here, which I thought, it didn't make sense. So we set it up. I showed you the pictures. We set it up in a way a very important guest could stay there, and we have hosted very important people in the facility. So we were targeting companies. Steel Structures is located off Kangundo Road. KCC is also off Kangundo Road. The big churches I mentioned are Manmin and Deliverance Church and a couple of others in the area that tend to host, incoming guests. The guests we have hosted are local and international, but important guests nonetheless. So those are our target market. So we are a 2-bedroom. It's a 2-bedroom with a kitchen. I shared some of the pictures. Place with quite a huge compound. It was an original house, so we had bought the facility. We were wondering what to do with it. We wanted to do flats like everybody else and so on, but our financing was not quite working out. So we thought, what else can we do with this property in a way that sort of meets our income demands? So that's how we ended up deciding to do that. What drove me there? I was looking for higher returns. So rents in the area, if you just have a 2-bedroom house, you might get maybe 20,000 shillings. And I was targeting to get at least 60, even 100,000, which you can get on Airbnb if you have regular clients. It's not too hard to imagine. We were in the process of developing our clientele at the point at which the pandemic hit, and we were getting good responses. In fact, there's a time we had a booking, and then another client came asking for more. I mean, they wanted their people to come and stay with us. We couldn't give them the facility. So we were in the process of developing the clientele when the pandemic hit. So our clients are still committed because whenever they've stayed with us, we have given them excellent service. So they're still committed to coming back, but at the moment they don't have people traveling in. So we've had international guests. We've also had local guests. They will send us there, local and international. Yeah, just to answer your questions. Now, let me comment on the bedrooms business because before I launched the business, I did some research. And people so I came across 2 types of entrepreneurs in this space. Nyayo Estate, those who may be familiar with Nyayo Estate, lovely estate with nice 3-bedroom houses on flats, very nice compound. I mean, neighbors and everything. So I met a colleague, let me call him a colleague, who was running, he had 2 facilities in the estate where he had furnished them, and he was offering them as a unit, so a full house. So the 2 of them, and he would get both local and international clients. Local clients tended to be people doing baby showers, people doing, you know, you have a lot of guests coming from a country during weddings and all these kind of things, funerals, and you're looking for extra accommodation for them and you don't want to put them up in a lodging. Yeah, Airbnb would offer that. So he used to offer his facilities locally and internationally. Then I met another, let me call him colleague, with a facility here in Maradaima, which I visited. His clientele was mainly, almost absolutely international. Again, he had a 3-bedroom, but the rooms were self-contained. So what he tended to do, and he had rented the facility, so the facility here near Maradaima. So he, so each bedroom he would rent out each by itself. Each was separate and each was listed separately on Airbnb or Booking.com or other Expedia. Then he would service clients, each of them, and each client, they would just generally share the sitting area and the kitchen. He used to offer breakfast, and then he had a caretaker who would use the laundry area as her sleeping quarters, and who would manage the guests, you know, checking in, checking out, etc., taking details. It's always good to, even though it's not a requirement, because Airbnb will generally have the details of your guest, but it would be, especially if you're hosting local clients or clients who are not coming through a platform, you need, it's just good practice to keep records, like who came and so on, and even to ask them for feedback as well. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you have. And I like the fact that you have emphasized market research. I like the fact that you have emphasized market research even while you are setting up the property and deciding what you want to do with the property that you have. Students, if you remember, that is also something that you have learned, that any entrepreneur normally has to go through market research, and we were able to delve into the different types of market research, primary and secondary. And so even just hearing you say that and mention that as an entrepreneur, as the business owner, you did have to carry out market research in terms of who your target market was going to be. So that emphasizes on what they have learned. Naomi, our next student, please proceed with your questions.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Miss Purity, can you hear her?
Okay.
Just starting to hear.
Okay. For my first question, how long have you listed your business? And since you've started, have you seen growth with your customers? And what has been your growth journey? The other question is, what drove you to start or join your Airbnb business? And what pricing strategy do you use for your accommodation services? And is the business affected by low and high season of business? And does it vary? And the other one is, what is the pricing strategy? Is the pricing strategy the same every month? The last question is, what marketing promotion do you use during seasons like Christmas, Easter? Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. Miss Purity, because of time, I would like you to focus, since you had already talked about when you listed the business, that was in 2019, from the last quarter of last year, and you have also spoken about some of the challenges and what drove you into eventually wanting to get into this accommodation space. And maybe perhaps you could touch on a bit about pricing strategy, although you had already mentioned that in your presentation. So for these questions asked by the students, could you mainly focus on the last two questions in terms of, is your pricing strategy constant? And especially concerning, is it affected by high and low season? Because usually we teach the students in the hospitality industry, there's the high and low season. The hospitality industry is affiliated to the tourism sector, and they learn about the high season and low season. So maybe you can answer the students in terms of, is Airbnb also affected by the seasons mentioned, and what promotions do you normally give during seasonal times like Christmas and maybe Valentine's and so on and so forth to your guests?
Okay, so pricing. So when I started out, I priced at par with a nearby hotel that was offering, a room per night for about 3,000 shillings. So that was my initial pricing strategy, based on research again from the local, because we're trying to compete. Every locality has its own pricing. If you're in Karen, your pricing is not the same as those who are in Gara and so on. No, the pricing strategy does not remain the same. And like I said, I've only come into this industry late last year, which has not quite given me breadth of experience to see seasons. All I know is pre-COVID and after COVID. Or rather,
still growing
after COVID, I'm talking about
and still growing on.
COVID. So yes, for the time being, pricing changes depending on competitors. So if your neighbors offering similar, services are offering a room for 1,000 shillings, you have to have a very good reason why you want to charge your room for 3,000 shillings. That's just whatever. And then you have to also, the other aspect you consider in your pricing is your costs. It's a business, it has to make sense. If you're not able to price by your competition, because your costs are quite high, then you probably need to look at your costs and say, am I too invested in this business that in a way that I cannot sell? Yeah. So again, if you're paying debts, you have a fuliza, which is financing your other, how you're running expenses. You're paying a caretaker, you have all these things. And then your neighbor that runs the business themselves, it is their house, they're right inside the house. It's a totally different ballgame. So you kind of need to look at your costs and make sure that they are really, really frugal. Because your pricing strategy is informed by your costs, your competitors, your costs. The other thing, of course, in the pricing strategy, especially for this business, is about your location. So location. For now, Airbnb, people travel to the country to do specific things in the country, and most of those things tend to be linked to the CBD, to Upper Hill, to Ngong Road. So unless somebody is coming for tourist reasons, then they might be a bit more a bit more willing to try out locations outside those areas. So location is a big aspect of pricing, because that's how demand operates on those platforms. In fact, for booking.com, there's a place where they ask you to put in the description, but they actually override it with their own description. And the way they describe your property is, in fact, they say you are so many kilometers from KICC. So the location, and this is the world of Google Maps. So everything can be, somebody is sitting in California, but they know your property is 13 kilometers away from CBD. So those are some of the challenges you will find in pricing. Okay. Having said that, it's also about what you're offering. Who are your target clients? So there are some clients, I've gotten calls from clients and which I did not accept to give the accommodation, because what they were going to use the facility for is not something I am particularly happy about. So there is a particular client that I'm looking for, and maybe I have those options because of the kind of business that I've set up. I don't have debt on the property. I am keeping my costs low. I mean, in this season, for instance, I'll tell you, I have Wi-Fi connection to the facility, but as long as I have no guests, I don't pay my Wi-Fi. It's even if I get promotions from Zuku, left, right, and center, I don't pay.
Yeah.
When I get a client, I pay that day, and the reconnection is immediate, right? So those are some of the situations when you're considering pricing. Now, marketing and promotions. Apps will have promotions. They'll have Black Friday. They will have all manner of promotions telling you there is more demand, low demand. The apps can tell these things because they're seeing the level of booking that's coming in. So you have, depending on where most of your clients are coming from, then you can jump onto the app promotions or create your own. So again, it's up to you to jump onto a promotion. Most apps will tell you, no, now we have Black Friday. There are people like, for instance, they will say, like during Christmas season, can you offer a discount? You are more likely to get more clients. It's up to you. Again, it's up to you because who are you targeting and what are your costs and who are your competitors? So those are very important things you need to consider. Now, that doesn't, like I said, that is on platform. Off platform, you can create promotions. It's again a business like any other business. So you can get off platform and create your own promotions. If you have some big clients, you can call them and tell them now instead of giving you a room for this much, it's actually available. When we do that, we email clients or call them and tell them some big clients will still, like I said, Steel Structures is on Kangunu Road. Write to them, tell them now we have room, we're offering this much, whatever. We'll call Deliverance Church, we will call these people and tell them we are offering this. So it's a business. So they are on platform meaning Airbnb, Booking.com. All these people are going to be telling you there are offers, there are promotions running. It is up to you to jump onto them.
Okay.
Or exit. You may find that the proposed promotion will drive your price. Your price is already promotional by itself, so you don't change it.
Yeah. All right, that's interesting to note. You'll be glad to note, Ms. Purity, that the students go through a topic called pricing strategy in their sales and marketing unit, and which they're learning in this term. And next term, they will also do, again, more on pricing strategy under the revenue management unit. So it is what you are speaking to them in terms of the application of some of the strategies they have learned then makes sense to them because they see that what they are learning is what has actually been is applicable to you as an entrepreneur, even as you are going about your entrepreneurship elements. Now, because of time, for the students, because of time who are still supposed to ask a couple of more questions, we shall have to stop on the questions. However, even just to give a summary, or rather a conclusion, Ms. Purity, maybe as you speak, could you share about, one is on the element of, do you have repeat guests? That's one, briefly, do you have repeat guests? Two is, maybe could you speak about insurance? And when you talk about risk, because we are able to bring out the risk professional side of you, even as still as the entrepreneur. So could you touch a bit on risk in terms of, are the guests insured? Would you advise an entrepreneur who is listing their services or their property on Airbnb to insure the guest or insure the property? And as well as you talked about one of the challenges being cancellation by clients. So do you have a cancellation policy? And what are the growth? What next for you? You had mentioned that the reason why you and your husband named the business Tukuzi One because of the intention of growth. And what would you lastly encourage the students who are listening in, even as you mentioned the fact that you had listed from the last quarter of last year, it is still very relevant to them, considering that some of them are still yet to go into business. And so it is not even so much about many number of years, but what was important for them was to see the starting point, the starting phase of any business, preferably even within the first year of a business, and the mindset of an entrepreneur. And so even as we come to the end of the session, could you speak to them? Maybe some of them now are getting thought-provoked, but they need to speak to their parents about their ideas. They maybe need to speak to their guardian, and maybe some of their guardians or parents are supportive because they are business oriented, while some may not be. Some of their parents or guardians may not be business oriented and may not understand when the students will be approaching them in terms of the business ideas that are now starting to that they are now starting to think about. So with those, maybe you can give talk about that as we close briefly.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mercy. So insurance, let me start with insurance. Typically, if you're traveling, you have your own insurance as the traveler. In fact, that is why they give travel advisories, because once, or even declare pandemics, because those have implications on insurance covers. So typically, if you are the one traveling, you are the one with an insurance on yourself, travel insurance. It's even called travel insurance. If you're running a property, you want to have domestic insurance for the property and its effects, its content. Yeah, so domestic, it's actually called a domestic package for the facility, which really covers if the house is yours, you can insure the house, but generally it's good practice to insure the contents that are in the house. The premiums are not nearly expensive, but when you're starting, you may want to take the risk on yourself. Meaning, you know, if you lose your TV, you just buy another one. Yeah, so so insurance says domestic package, travel insurance, the traveler will have their own insurance. So, because in insurance, you know, I did a big com. We give you a bit of my for free. So in insurance, the way insurance works, you have to have an insurable interest in the whatever. So you typically would not have an insurable interest on a guest you do not know. So you cannot like take out an insurance on them because you don't know them, or you haven't even interacted with them until they book is when you have an insurable interest. And usually typically is what would you lose should maybe they'll not pay or something. So I don't know whether they have something called guest insurance or something. But I would say when you're starting out, you know, typically when you're starting a business, you minimize your risk by the way you operate yourself, the way you operate yourself. And then as you grow, then there's more to lose. So then you take out, you take your risk and transfer it to somebody else, which is what insurance is. You transfer your risk to an insurance company. So domestic insurance is a good insurance to have, especially as you get more established. And it's annual. It's an annual insurance. Repeat guests, we've just started. We have repeat clients. So our clients will, so like I said, Deliverance Church will stay and call us. Or now we have guests, is your house available? Yeah, so they will not be the same guests, but they will be, it's the same client. We are still charging Deliverance Church Umoja for the service.
Okay.
So granted, we've lost like a year where we would have had more experience of the business and everything. Yeah. But we are hopeful. I mean, like I said, we named Tukuzi 1 as the first one. It's one. So in terms of growth, what next? We are assessing to see. I mean, we are assessing the business case to see whether it's viable. I mean, given all that's happening with the pandemic, conferencing, and so on, we still believe once the pandemic is, contained to some level, guests will still need to come. So I still am looking to see whether do I shift to Kuziwan from where it is to maybe where I live, or wherever. So it's a business. You have to keep thinking. Strategy is every day. Strategy is every day. You have to keep thinking about the business. So if things had not gone the way they did, we probably have had to Kuzi 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So that it's potential wherever area. You create employment, you get to experience a good way of expanding your incomes. But again, when things change, the economy is different, you then reassess and see.
Yeah.
Encouragement for the students. I mean, really, it's a wonderful time. I must say, you guys are in school at a wonderful time, and it will never get better. So don't look at what is happening right now and think, oh my, we are doomed. We are the kids of the pandemic. Yeah, every time looks like it's really bad, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad. You just need to think outside the box. You need to think outside the box. The concept of work is changing. What is work? That's changing. Like I said, there's lots of opportunities to engage in the gig economy. And sometimes even young children are already doing it. I was doing a particular course just not too long ago. And the guy who was training us was saying his 12-year-old son is already doing a particular gig online. Something they call drop shipping, something else.
Okay.
So think outside the box. Get online, not to look at Instagram, who has posted the latest best picture. Those are great and they have their place. But in those spaces, people are making money. On Instagram, people are making money. I think there's a young girl who I started following just to see what her strategy is. I think she's called Wabosha or something. She's very young. She's probably a teenager. She is making money. So, and the way she's done her Instagram is so that she's able to, endorse products and stuff like that. So think outside the box. Your thinking is your capital. That is the beginning place. So your thinking is your capital. Like you had, I'm really passionate about mentoring younger people. So these are different times. They're not like our times. Our times, we got out of college and we looked for jobs and we worked and then we were retrenched or whatever. But that was different. But for you guys, you really have to think what's in your hands, what's in your mind, and really consider. So don't spend your time just, wasting time. Time is truly money in this new economy. Time is truly money. Spend your time either gaining new knowledge or selling that knowledge or selling something. And there are so many opportunities. Tukuziwan is also on Facebook. It has its own page linked to my profile. So there are many, many opportunities, many opportunities. I also do coaching as well, paid coaching. I also, sometimes give free coaching, career-wise and others. So, and how do I do it? I have an online Facebook page. I do it on Zoom. So there are many opportunities. Now, capital, talking to parents. Now remember, your parents are, if you think there's a pandemic that has affected you, it has also affected your parents. And they may not say. they may not even be aware that they need to do anything different. Things have changed for them, but they are not, changing as they should. So they are in sort of a transition as well. So again, is to be wise in how you put forward your proposal. Think through your business proposal, think it through, and put it through in a way that is also a benefit to them. Yeah. So for instance, if you're going to use a room, one of the bedrooms that is not used, and you want to start your Airbnb business, right? Of what benefit is that to your parent? Don't just think about you. Think about that you're going to help with some of the bills in the house. Because even then they are sacrificing their privacy, which is they're hosting somebody there, and be a good salesperson, sell it to your parents, who may or may not understand the online world and how it works. So that whole, so I address their fears. When you do, when I'm coaching people and I'm telling them how to address their bosses, think about the person you're talking to, think about their world, and then see how you can propose what you're proposing in a way that is win-win for both of you. Even if it's a relative, maybe you have a relative who has an idle house and they don't know really what to do with it. Put together a business proposal, look for them, buy them some coffee. Think in their world. Don't just think about me. I'm a post-millennial, and they need to understand how I am. You should think about this person doesn't probably even understand how online works. So be very very considerate. Negotiation skills are needed in every stage of life. So you will need to use them for your benefit. So all the best in your entrepreneurship thoughts and ideas. I honestly hope to hear good stories from this session in terms of ideas that you have thought about and you're thinking of launching or have launched. It was really good to have this opportunity to chat with you, Miss Mercy, and the class. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Purity. It was a pleasure hosting you, and thank you for what you have shared with the students. Thank you for the well wishes to the students. And my last two comments is to reiterate what you have said, that as they are speaking to and presenting the business proposals to their parents, they need to be wise and be considerate. And lastly, what you have said that is very powerful to them and to all of us who are listening is your thinking is your capital. So even as they're thinking about business opportunities, their thinking is their capital. To the rest of the students, I will allow me to only share Purity's email. Her email is Puri Masharia. That is Macharia, purimasharia@gmail.com. And if you'd like to get in touch with her in terms of the business, more about the business or about the Airbnb business, and even as you mentioned, the questions on coaching, career coaching, then you can communicate with her directly. Thank you for your time, students. Thank you once again, Miss Purity. Thank you on behalf of Boma International Hospitality College. And we also wish you the very best in your Airbnb business. We hope that as we continue communicating, indeed, even through the COVID pandemic challenges, we shall be able to witness and see Tukuzi 2, Tukuzi 3, and all the others as you grow in the accommodation space, which is a very key part of the hospitality industry. I have been your moderator, Miss Mercy Kagiri. I take the unit Small Business Management. To all of you, have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.